Hello and welcome back to the shop. Today we are going to take a look at some new Klein pliers that are kind of like wrenches, but they're pliers. It's Knipex, and there's an icon copy of the Knipex. Maybe we'll take a look at them later. Looks like Klein's gotten into that market a little bit. There's a 7, 10, and 12 inch. And you can see here in the back that they work like an adjustable wrench that's more plier based. And if you're curious, these are made in China. Okay, so let's dig into these things. These are some pretty nice looking pliers, and what they've done is they've made a pair of pliers that basically, as you use them, the jaws stay parallel. So what you're able to do is get these on any kind of fastener. Like here's just open it up a little bit here. There's many adjustments here, but you can open and hold. Now this is even a small fastener. You can get this thing that it holds, and I think what we'll do is we'll try and test the torque that we can get out of these things and see how much force we can actually get. Now these things open up, you can see quite a bit, and as you get further with them you lose a little bit of motion. You can see in the handle, the further you get down here, the less you have. And I would say, for me personally, I would feel like I have less grip here. I would like to see the handles more closed, like this, or even further still, more like that is more comfortable. So take that as you will. Now the tool itself has laser etched markings that you can see through the window for an approximation on what size you are. So I would say you probably want to keep it closed, and that would be the 1.5 inches. And let's get our 6-inch scale here and see if we are indeed by 1.5 inches, and we are. We're like just under 1.5 inches. So that's pretty accurate. Let's go up to the 1 inch. You can see that you have to clip in, and that's one of the things that I don't particularly like about this style of pliers. Now I know Knipex and other manufacturers have gone to the push button style pliers, but I just find every time I use these things I end up in a spot where I push the button and everything starts sliding around on me. That's one of those things that's a preference type thing, and let me know in the comments below if that's something that irritates you as well. I almost like the pliers that you have to open up all the way to move them and get them into the next size. I can say these feel relatively smooth. I can also say that, and we'll take a look at this in the microscope, that they seem to close relatively well. So if you're looking to do body work with these, that's another thing that adjustable wrenches are great for. You can put them on something and kind of straighten sheet metal out if there's an uh-oh or something like that. So I think this might work well for that. We'll just have to see how much force we can get away with. So I believe the maximum size they claim you can do here is 2.5 for the 12 inch, 2 inch for the 10 inch, and 1.5 inches for the 7 inch. So let's just check that. We will go all the way out and see what we have here. We are indeed just over 2.5 on our 6-inch scale. Let's see what we got on the 10-inch all the way out. I don't know if I'm all the way out there. Okay. That's interesting. So all the way out and the handle closed, we're pretty close to 1 7/8. With the tool in the open position, we are just over 2. So I think they were probably a little ambitious on their marking on the 10-inch. Let's see the 7-inch. 7-inch is probably 1 7/16. So that's not horrifically off of the advertised 1.5 inch. And you can obviously pull the tool open. We can get over 1.5 inch with the tool open, but if you're pushing it closed, at some point it's going to be hard to hold, because like I said, the more you have this open, the more your hands are going to struggle to put the force on. Now, I guess the question is, how hard are these, and will they mar up over time? And I guess we'll find out. Let's start with an HRC 50 and see if we glide or mark. We're actually digging in a little bit there. Definitely digging in. We'll go down to 45. 45 and we're gliding. So these are around between HRC 50 and 45. Not super hard, but not super soft. I think it'd be interesting to check some other tools. I haven't compared to, say, Channel Lock or one of the others. Okay, for the 10-inch, if we were to consider the jaw opening of even a wider 10-inch adjustable wrench than normal, we could compare the 10-inch and see that this Klein opens quite a bit bigger than the 10-inch adjustable wrench we have here. And the Klein is about 1 7/8 opening, while this adjustable wrench is down at 1 3/8 or so. Now the interesting thing will be to see how much extra torque we can get. The adjustable wrench obviously is going to have a lot more force you can do, but I think what we're going for here with these isn't necessarily overall strength, but the ability to turn large things as quick as possible. Getting adjustable wrenches on and off can be a little janky. If you know, you know. Something like this, you can just open and close and operate whatever you're tightening. So I think these are meant more for getting you close and not overall force. But we are going to check out how much force we can exert with these, just because, why not? Okay, so we're over at the vise, and what we have is a classic pair of Channel Lock 415s. And if you know anything about these are the ones that were the smooth jaws that you could kind of use for a similar function prior. Now the Channel Locks don't have that lever, they're just a tongue and groove pliers. So let's see what kind of force we can get. Now I apologize, this tool is going to be upside down, and we'll have to read it upside down for now, but that's okay. So let's get our 415s on here, and let's start spinning. And I'm already slipping. I don't want to mar up our tool. So we are 13 foot-pounds we could get out of the 413s or 415s. Now, to be competitive, we are going to use the Klein 10-inch tool on here. And let's see what kind of force we can get with it. So we have it on our Allen here, and we're just going to go So that's about as far as I was willing to push. Probably going to pay for that. But we got 88.7 foot-pounds, and we were not close to slipping. Here you can see 88.7. I probably could have gone a little bit more if I had a little more grip, but it feels like this tool does indeed kind of lock, but it's that situation where you want to get the handles as close together as you can to get the maximum torque. So that 88.7 is a pretty impressive amount of torque to get out of a pair of hand pliers. And I think the way they're doing that is with this toggle you see right here that allows you to lock the tool in, and that doesn't, it's not as easy. It creates a lever point. It's not as easy to push the tool open because you have to overcome that lever point. Okay, so we just tested this thing with an Allen hex, and let's see if we have any marks on the tool. It does indeed look like we created some marking on the tool. If we take a look, right here, you can see there's some marking ever so slightly if I get it in the light the right way. A little bit down here. Let's check the other side of the tool. You can see we have a little bit of marring, but nothing really spectacularly devastating to the tool itself. Let's check here. There you can see that hex Allen. That was a 5/8 hex. There you can see the other side of it. And I went with that because, one, we could test it with the torque wrench, and two, we're kind of point loading a lot of torsion on this tool, and we're able to check out the tool steel and see how it holds up. So if you're going with larger objects, I think these tools probably will not mark up at all, really, if any, very lightly. But if you're going with things like, that's 5/8, so if you're going with fasteners and you're trying to loosen fasteners with these, like your common 3/8 fastener or your 1/2 inch fastener, which is going to be 3/8 is going to be down to 9/16, smaller than this, and your 1/2 inch will be generally 3/4 larger than this. So if you're doing that, you may start seeing some marking on your tool like we have there. But let's just go ahead and check out the 7-inch. Got dirt on it already. There's how they look right from factory. Nice and smooth and clear. They are laser etched Klein tools. They are laser etched with their part number, and they have that laser etching there for the window up here to tell you what size you are at. So there's 3/4. There you go, now you can see it. There's 3/4. And if we had that size, it would probably need to be 1 tooth up, and that would get us our 5/8 right here. You can see that's on there. Just like that, and we can hold that. Now this, you can see on that 5/8 is open a bit more. I don't know if you'd have as much leverage other than the tool not being as long, but you can see you could really squeeze that handle closed on the 5/8 with the 10-inch wrench. So I think the pliers, the choice is going to have to be a little bit selective when you're trying to decide which one. There you can see our 12-inch is reasonably closed as well. And obviously the larger you go, the more leverage you'll probably have. But you'll have to pick one that fits best. Now with all these adjustments, I don't know. It's hard to say which one's going to be better or worse. I find these finicky to get to the right size, and then you bump them and they slide and you have to put it back. I guess you got to train yourself to use them. Like I said, let me know in the comments below if you are frustrated with quirks of this type of adjuster, or if you've learned to work with them. Either way, I think they're decent, but I kind of like the tongue and groove adjuster better, but I don't know how you do that with this tool. Might be a little hard to do. I have seen other variants of a push button adapter that doesn't have the buttons standing so proud, that it's a little bit more inset. It would allow the tool to be more, if you get into tight areas, it gives you a little bit more clearance, because that can be sometimes frustrating with this type of adjuster. Overall, I gotta say I am super impressed that we got almost 90 foot-pounds. I probably could have forced more out of it. We got 90 foot-pounds out of this 10-inch pliers. That is really impressive. That locks on there really well. I did not really feel it pushing or opening. Very impressive. That amount of force out of a pair of pliers is very impressive. So that is a huge check mark for these things, that yeah, you can really exert some force with them if you get hooked up the right way. Let me know in the comments below, do you have a pair of these pliers, or do you have the whole set, or one of the three? Do you like it? Has it gotten you out of a bind? Has there been parts of it that you don't like? How do these continue to work as you use them? Does this minor marring we see get out of hand as you use them heavier or more? Really interested to know what you guys have experienced using these things. Let me know in the comments below. I tried to keep this a pretty simple review on how these tools work, what sort of force you can expect to get out of them, what they look like after a brief use at a higher torque. The handles on these things, to go into that quick, is a nice rubber handle like you'd normally have on most tools. It's not, the profile does lend itself to your hand. Your palm fits up in here very nicely, and this is kind of shaped for fingers. If you look at this other, the 12, you got the same thing. All of them seem to have that sort of thing in mind, that they tried to be as ergonomic as possible. They are relatively narrow. If we want to look at the thickness of these, we can look, the 10-inch is just about 5/16 thick. The 7-inch, right on quarter. And the 12-inch, just over 3/8 thick. So keep that in mind. That is a nice thing, that even adjustable wrenches aren't generally as thin as these, and that might be something that you can get into a narrow spot if you really need to. So hopefully this was interesting. Thought we'd look at a few things on these and see how they work, see how they look after we've used them, see any little things about them. If you have any further comments, feel free to let them in the comments below. I really like to hear from guys who also use these tools and what they think of them. I can definitely see a use for these, though it probably wouldn't be all the time in every use. I do see a very practical use for these with certain things. I would love to try them with electrical fittings and stuff like that to see how they grab on them. This leverage could really be handy. So let me know what you use them for below in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a great day.